popular production of The Winter's Tale, staged at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival in 1975, incorporated the changing seasons into its interpretation. Director Audrey Stanley saw the play structured in thirds: winter in Sicilia, spring in Bohemia, and autumn back in Sicilia. In this production, costumes in Sicilia's winter were dark velvet and asymmetrical. Springtime in Bohemia employed country colors and textures, and in autumn, back in Sicilia, the colors were simple and solid, in the last scene symbolically white. Lighting functioned similarly, with splintered dark colors for winter, soft dappled lights for spring, and again solid colors leading to bright white light in the final scene. These effects support moments in the text that evoke the changing seasons. As Stanley observed, the play opens in winter in Sicilia, and as Mamilius dictates, a sad tale's best for winter. The play itself is actually a winter's tale, a fanciful story told in the nursery or by the hearth during long, dark winter nights. Appropriately, Leontes brings nothing but misery on his family. The atmosphere in Sicilia is bleak as any winter, and there is no escaping their fate. Death eventually wins out. Winter lasts even on the shores of Bohemia, where a winter storm sinks Antigonus's ship and drowns his entire crew. It is not until Act 4, 16 years later, that spring actually arrives. Bohemia encompasses all the vitality and regeneration of spring. More importantly, Perdita personifies spring itself, dressed like a noble goddess of nature. She is the rebirth of happiness in the play. Florizel describes her as, quote, no shepherdess, but Flora, peering in April's front. In Bohemia, and in Florizel and Perdita, we see a renewal of all that has been destroyed in Sicilia's winter: love, trust, and loyalty. The rebirth in Bohemia eventually brings us back to Sicilia in late summer or fall. The 16 years of waiting have finally come to fruition, and it is time for Leontes to reap the benefits of his devout repentance. In the last act, the play is also very conscious of age and the passage of time. When Leontes sees Hermione's statue, he comments on how wrinkled and aged she seems, and Paulina never misses an opportunity to remind Leontes of the past. Even when Hermione and Leontes are reunited, it is clear that the prime of their lives, their summer, has been lost. Their hope now lies in Perdita and Florizel, their springtime and rebirth. Though the end of the play is happy, there is a distinctly somber tone to it. And though it leaves us with the comedic end of triple marriages, it is somehow not the same as Shakespeare's earlier comedies. Citing the fact that The Winter's Tale was written very close to the end of Shakespeare's career, many critics have described the play as having an autumnal tone that seems to reflect Shakespeare's preoccupation with retirement and growing older, and fixate on themes of regret, repentance, forgiveness, and second chances. Despite this unique quality, or perhaps because of it, many have criticized the play's final scene, in which Hermione is miraculously restored to life and family. They accuse the scene of being hackneyed and sentimental. Even so, the statue scene is the most popular and recognizable part of The Winter's Tale. In the 19th century, it was so well liked that it would frequently be played by itself as a prelude or closing act to complement anything from farce to opera. Critic Stephen Orgel fittingly describes the statue scene as, quote, an utterly implausible device that is nevertheless overwhelmingly moving. And if done well, it is very moving. Where does its power come from? Some say its power lies in its stillness. The characters are very quiet as they look at Hermione. As Paulina says, I like your silence, it the more shows off your wonder. The spectators on stage and in the audience are united by their stillness as they gaze all together at the statue. At the same time, however, we do not often consider what Hermione might be thinking while this scene unfolds. Imagine the scene from her perspective, standing motionless on a pedestal, seeing at last a lost daughter, now grown, and a cruel husband frightened, now repentant, gaze at her with love and wonder. Actress Helena Fawcett, who played Hermione, has her own interpretation of this moment. Her heart, hitherto full only of her lost children, Hermione finds herself forgetting all but the tones of the voice, once so loved, now broken with the accents of repentance and woe-stricken desolation. Paulina had, it seemed to me, besought Hermione to play the part of her own statue, in order that she might hear herself apostrophized, and be a silent witness of the remorse and unabated love of Leontes before her existence became known to him, and so be moved to that forgiveness which, without such proof, she might possibly be slow to yield. When Paulina finally orders the statue to move, Hermione does not respond until her 8th command, keeping everyone in keen anticipation, including Paulina and the audience. This tense expectation is one of the most theatrically charged moments in Shakespeare. In fact, Shakespeare's original audience might have experienced an even greater degree of amazement. Hermione's restoration is not in Shakespeare's source, Robert Greene's Pandolfo. It might have been unclear to them whether Hermione was really a statue or not, making her descent from the pedestal a wondrous surprise. Actors and directors have labored to recreate the sense of wonder that the final scene of Winter's Tale demands. But Best of Both Worlds, the adaptation of the Winter's Tale that will be mounted at the ART this fall, handles this and other issues inherent in Shakespeare's text through music. Set in a mildly fantastic version of modern day, contemporary jokes are interwoven with moving music throughout the play. At the same time, however, the play is split in two seasonally, Christmas, or winter, and Easter, or spring. This restructuring underlines Best of Both Worlds' religious focus. Centering on the themes of sin and redemption, this adaptation brings us closer to the roots of Shakespeare's play found in the saints' miracle plays. The Leontes character, Zeke, undergoes a personal journey from the sin of jealousy and all its ugly consequences back to faith, grace, and the power of love. Fittingly, it is through music that the final scene gains its power and wonder. The precedent for this is set in Shakespeare's text. Paulina commands, "Music, awake her, strike. 'Tis time, descend, be stone no more." At the moment of Serena's, Hermione's, awakening, the curtains open to reveal a large gospel choir, and the joy of resurrection is celebrated with jubilant music. Ideally, this stunning sight engenders the same kind of surprise that Shakespeare's audience might have experienced when Hermione's statue began to move, and which, hopefully, leaves the audience in awe and wonder of the theater.